Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villere's Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villere's provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villere's Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969. Mr. Ed's Oyster Bar and Fish House has been shucking here since 1979. Located at 3117 21st Street in Metairie, Mr. Ed's Oyster Bar and Fish House offers raw, fried, and grilled oysters, as well as a range of Cajun and Creole dishes. Enjoy a dozen with a smile.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports, live from our Pontchartrain Production Studios. Tonight, a lot to talk about. We've got the New Orleans Saints, of course the LSU Tigers, the Tulane Green Wave. We'll talk about those programs. We'll also talk about the early signing day, what happened there. And of course, a lot to break down with you. We got some great guys to do it for you. Rene Nadeau of CrestCitySports.com and so much more. He'll tell you about that. And Tommy Krysan from Talking Sports with TK. My good friend Tommy Krysan made his way down to New Orleans from Baton Rouge today. And that's the second week in a row, right? We had Glenn Gilbo to do it last week. We got Tommy Krysan to do it this week. I'm feeling pretty fortunate during this Christmas holidays. Have these guys come down and join us from Baton Rouge. Welcome back to the show, Rene. Always good to have you, my friend. And great day to have you as well because of what's going on in college football. And you'll break it all down for us as we go throughout the show. But you're involved in a lot of things. Tell the folks about it.
But he is a New Orleans guy, so he's coming back
He is
home.
a New Orleans guy.
I know Tommy. Anyway.
He is a New Orleans guy.
I'm with CrestCitySports.com. I also do college football analyst, and also work for television. Also do CBS radio for Saints home games and some Pelicans and bowl games and stuff like that. So it's a great time of year, but as we all know in sports, the job never ends.
Yes.
You know, it's always something going on in sports. So that's the great thing.
Tommy, welcome back. It's been a while, but glad to have you back. And tell us a little bit about the podcast and some of the other things you got going on, because you're involved in a lot of things right now.
Yeah, I really am. You know, Pelican Broadcasting, I have a very limited role now. People knew I was there for 15 years as a general manager, but limited role there. I got the podcast going, Talking Sports with TK. It's available on all the major platforms. A lot of LSU stuff on there, and obviously a good year to have LSU stuff. And I'm also recently got on board with as the marketing director for Louisiana and Texas USSSA baseball, all the travel teams, the youth teams, and that'll be cranking up real big come February through the rest of the summer. So enjoying a little USSSA baseball. Guy can work from home in Baton Rouge, a little bit of traveling. The podcast, and very happy to be here on the show today. It's been a few years since I've been on the show.
It has been, and of course, anybody knows anything about Tommy, great pitcher at Southeastern, a guy that still teaches a lot of baseball to a lot of young athletes out there. And a lot of people don't know that, again, when I got back in this business, got on with John Fine on his Sports Gumbo show, I used to sit in, myself and Mike Vasang used to sit in with Tommy Krysan I think it was on a Tuesday.
Right. And
really our first time, and Tommy was very gracious. Here's a guy that's was in the business for over a decade or more, and of course these newbies come in, and of course he opened up the door and the red carpet out for us, and I'll never forget that as well.
Well, yeah, I'll never forget Trey Blossman first got me going on WARB over in Covington, a little AM station, and then we began doing Covington High football, and that grew into a lot of things. So, a lot of people have helped me along the way. So I appreciate you saying that.
No,
but I remember, like, you guys, hey, let's do this. Let's have some fun.
It was fun. It absolutely was, no doubt. What's not fun is what we're going to be talking about right now. As we are recording this show, we find out this afternoon that Clyde Edwards-Helaire running back extraordinaire for the LSU Tigers, who's had an incredible year. And you know I've already thrown my apologies out to the Edwards-Hilaire family. Also, again, to Clyde himself because of, again, I didn't think he was the dynamic back that he turned out to be. And LSU would not be where they are today if it was not for Clyde Edwards-Hilaire. There is a hamstring injury. The severity of that injury is not known as of this time. But gentlemen, let's talk a little bit about it because that is a huge loss for this LSU team if he's not able to go against either Oklahoma or to be able to play in the championship game on January 13th. Oklahoma game, December the 28th. That championship game if LSU makes it right here in the Dome on January the 13th.
And this injury, however, it might unfold, has a lot of layers to it. On the immediate side, it would be a huge loss because he's right behind Joe Burrow as far as the contributions, Justin Jefferson and what he did, and Jamar Chase. So he would be very, very difficult to replace. Moving forward, I really thought, and I just wrote a piece about this on Crescent City Sports, that I thought he would come out this year. And if this were to be an injury that would slow him down and hurt him in the eyes of the NFL scouts, that would be terrible because he's earned an opportunity if he does want to forego his senior season to get into the NFL because he is a running back. He takes so many hits. The next one might be the last one. So if he were to go right now, his value is high. Strike with iron's hot. So not only with the game coming up, how much contributions he can make, but moving forward, if this may play a role in his decision or what's going to happen moving forward, and that's a shame because again, this is a great opportunity after coming off the season he has had and LSU has had.
No doubt. Tommy, what's your take?
I agree with Rene. It's a huge loss, but I try to find a silver lining here. You got 2 more days of practice this week. They're working out Monday through Thursday in Atlanta. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, they're working out, and they got a walkthrough on Friday. So you have time to get next man up, get somebody ready. LSU's got a tremendous amount of depth on this football team. All these names aren't household names yet because we know Burrow and Hilaire and Jefferson and Chase and all these guys. I got confidence that the guys who are going to get this opportunity now, I'm not saying they're as good as Clyde Edwards-Hilaire because he's had a big season and catching the ball, blocking. People don't realize he's one of the best at picking up a blitz. So, it's going to be tough shoes to fill, but injuries are part of football. Somebody's going to have to fill them. At least LSU has time to, prepare a couple of people. It'll probably take 2 people to fill his shoes.
John Emery, obviously, Davis Price, also Chris Curry, all backs behind him. Time I ask you first, and then I'll go to Rene. Biggest loss if Edwards-Hilaire cannot go, obviously, is a devastating blocker. He's a guy that's proven that he could catch the ball at the backfield, and he ran the heck out of the ball this year. If he was not to go, what would be the biggest thing they would be missing?
The blocking. I mean, because Oklahoma is going to try to affect Joe Burrow.
Yes.
Okay, they he is mobile, but he's not the dual threat guy by definition. So I think you're going to have to, whatever running back is the next best guy picking up blitzes and reading all that stuff, and then slipping out if they show blitz don't come. But the blocking is the thing. As much as Hilaire has contributed carrying the football, the yards after contact, the catching the ball. It doesn't get talked about, but I can't tell you how many times this year he picked up a blitz. Burrow has not been hit a lot, especially if you consider how many pass attempts there are. He's been hit very, very few times. So I think that would be the focus of the offensive staff to say who's going to best fill that part of the role, and they want to cover that up first. And then the rest of it, if somebody else, runs for 8 yards or picks up a first down, that's going to be Lanyard. The key is going to be let Burrow do what Burrow's been doing.
Yes.
Hilaire had a big role in that even when he didn't touch the football.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the blocking as well. Your thoughts, Rene?
A couple of things. He's a great option as a check down for Joe Burrow, as a receiver. We've all seen Joe Burrow go to him quite often in the flat. Yards after contact. I mean, my gosh, he's unbelievable. Look at the tackles he breaks. I don't think anybody would be able to simulate what he does. I mean, yards after contact. He's hit it after 3 yards from a line of scrimmage, and he gained 8-yard gain or something. Look what he did against Alabama, breaking tackles into the end zone. So things he does that it's going to be hard to duplicate. A receiver, a blocker, as Tommy alluded to, and his experience, his vision. He's been there. Tyrion Davis Price is a freshman.
Yes.
Curry has not played a whole lot. Emery is a freshman. So they don't have the experience that he has in big games and stuff. And in most cases, he has been the guy who carried the ball. I mean, Tyrion Davis Price has maybe got a couple of carries, but for the most part, 90% of the ball carrying has been done by Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So if he does go down, I'm sure it'll be by committee.
Yes.
But it will be really, really tough to duplicate what he does.
As mentioned, the Peach Bowl, they'll take on Oklahoma on December the 28th. The Sooners had some bad news today. They suspended 3 players, defensive end Ronnie Perkins, the running back Stevenson, and Trajan Bridges, the wide receiver. How big of a loss is that for the Sooners?
Stevenson is really good. Ronnie Perkins is really, really good. He's a good outside rusher, number 7. He's a good pressure guy on the outside, so that is huge. That is really big. And Stevenson is a kind of 5'10", 220-something pound running back. Physical between the tackles, so that's certainly going to take a lot out of their running attack. Whatever the reason was, they felt necessary, but man, those guys, whatever they got suspended for, you're really hurting your team,
yes.
And that's going to be a benefit to LSU.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason guys are starters and a reason guys are backups, okay? But Oklahoma, like LSU, is a tradition-rich, talented football program, okay? They've got other guys that are pretty darn good. So they, like LSU, have got some time, several, week and a half to prepare for not having those guys. That's always a plus. If Elad hurts himself next Thursday, 2 days before the game, then it's another story. So, Oklahoma's, they got talented guys. We just hadn't heard of them yet. But, the depth will prove out who's best, and I think that's going to be LSU.
Talk about the matchup, Jalen Hurts against this LSU defense.
Well, I'll defer to Dave Aranda. His track record speaks for itself. And, I said after the Ole Miss game, I said it might have been the best thing that happened to this football team when Ole Miss gashed them at the end. Because then the coaching staff had plenty to talk to the kids about it. They beat Ole Miss 58-3. What do you tell the guy? But they were able to say, hey, you couldn't get this guy on the ground. You missed assignments. You missed tackles. They were able to stay on the defense. And then when the College Football Ranking Committee came out and put them number 2, said they weren't a complete team, I think that got the defense's attention.
Yes.
And they've played lights out since, especially compared to what Arkansas and Ole Miss did later in the game. So, I don't think it's going to be a problem for LSU. I think they know enough about Jalen Hurts, and again, I'm going to defer to the coaches. It really the only thing that matters is what happens on the field during the game, but what happens in the preparation and then the adjustments are the key. What does Oklahoma maybe do different now they have to adjust to? You got to defer to the LSU coaching staff. They're 13-0. They're the SEC champs, the number 1 team in the country, and they got about 20 guys that'll end up in an NFL camp. Now, I don't know if they'll all stick, but they got about 20 guys, counting the different classes, that are going to get in an NFL camp, maybe more.
Your thoughts on Jalen Hurts in Oklahoma?
LSU fans should be very familiar with Jalen Hurts being at Alabama.
Sure.
He is one of 3 guys in the FBS that has accounted for 3,000 yards passing and 1,000 yards rushing. He's got 1,255 yards on the ground, 18 touchdowns. So he is a weapon as a runner. 1,200 yards. That's would be a great year for a running back. So he's a guy who can take off and can run. He's a good passer. He's a good leader. I kind of agree with Tommy and what he said. I think in the matchup, overall matchup, the chips are in LSU's favor. I don't think the Oklahoma defensive backs are going to be able to stay step for step with the wide receivers of LSU. Jalen Hurts is certainly going to be a weapon to deal with, but I think with the players that Dave Aranda has on defense with LSU, I think they can keep him in check anyway. Maybe not bottled up, but in check because he can rush for 200 yards in a game, and that's a norm for him. And he's going to be, especially with Stevenson going down, he's going to carry the ball a lot more now.
Oklahoma has not played a defense like they're going to play against LSU.
I agree with that.
Okay, and I think that'll tell the tale. Even if it's a pillow fight in the first quarter, LSU should separate by the come fourth quarter. I don't think it's a close football game. I really don't.
Right. Do you agree with that?
I think LSU will score in the 30s.
Right.
And off the top of my head, 38 to 14.
Right. Okay. Because Ohio, I'm sorry, pardon me. Oklahoma is a high-scoring team.
Oh,
as well.
I know. What I'm saying is that they can score. And look, I think LSU will still be able to score 38, 40 points.
Yes.
But I think Oklahoma, I say 14. They may get in the 20s, but I think that LSU is that much better. And I think I just think LSU will win by 20 points, 14, 18, 20 points. The
other side of the bracket is the Fiesta Bowl, Clemson versus Ohio State. Break that one down for us.
I give a lot more credit to Clemson than people really think. I think Ohio State is certainly a favorite there, but Clemson is a team that's been there before. Last year, national champions, Trevor Lawrence, maybe he didn't get enough credit. They have something to prove, and Dabo Swinney has played this to a T. I mean, make sure his team is motivated with the underdog, and Travis Etienne, I mean, he's one of the top 2-3 running backs in the country. They got great receivers, Ross. I can see Clemson winning in a close game of Ohio State, and I can see LSU Clemson in the Dome on the 13th.
Well, your thoughts?
I agree. I think Clemson beats Ohio State. They
The most complete team in America is going to get beat.
Well, they're not even favored against
Right.
Clemson
There you
by
go.
those wise guys that studied it.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I think Clemson's been there and done that. Now they have not. Even though Ohio State's strength of schedule is not great, Clemson's is not as good. The ACC after them is just nothing. I mean, look what they did Virginia in the conference title game. But I lean back. I've not always been a big fan of Dabo Swinney, but in the last couple of years, the more I hear and read about him, the more I've become a fan of his and what he does with that program. Been there, done that. He's got them right where they wanted. And nobody wanted to talk about him, and now they pushed him down to number 3 after he annihilated Virginia. I'm sure behind the closed doors, he's between the left ear and the right ear of every one of them players, and I think that's going to end up being a difference. And I don't know, Ohio State has not played anybody as good as Clemson this year. Wisconsin's not as good as Clemson. Those teams aren't that good in the slow 10, as I call it. So then the Clemson speed will also be. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think Clemson wins a close game, and it may come down to the final couple of possessions, but I really like Clemson in that game. And then, as I said, I think right down the road on Monday night the 13th, a big Tiger Cat fight between Clemson and LSU. That's what I think will happen. I don't know.
Interesting, the College Football Playoff Committee, I thought, again, they were perpetrating a fraud throughout the entire scenario of the rankings. But again, as you mentioned, moving LSU to 2 behind Ohio State motivated that defense. That defense has been playing lights out. And also, to your point, Clemson, all of a sudden, national champs, what they've done over the last few years, they're kind of like forgotten because of their schedule, and rightly so. But again, you can't discount the type of football team that Dabo Swinney has. As mentioned, a little bit of motivation for them as well.
Well, the College Football Playoff Committee, let's make it clear, that's a marketing tool, okay? Us 3 sat here and marketed ourselves at the beginning of the show. That's what we all do. Eric, we've all been successful in this business. Whatever we've achieved is because we marketed ourselves. Well, that TV show is a marketing tool, and they want to get people to talk about it, and they succeeded on that. I'm going to go back to Dabo Swinney, a quote I think he said last year or the year before, the most meaningless stat in a football game is the halftime score. Okay, I mean, it really means nothing. Okay, where some people get all bent out of shape about it. Well, the College Football Playoff Committee rankings are less meaningful than the halftime score. Okay, until you get to that Sunday when they slot everybody out, because then you have the proofs in the pudding there.
Your thoughts, Rene?
Something that you said that LSU being rated number 2 might have done something for the defense and everything. And I remember being on your show a week or so ago. And when LSU was rated number 2, and you asked me about that, and I felt this way, and I still do. If LSU would have been number 2, it wouldn't have been fair. But Ed Orgeron's going to tell his team they don't respect us. Whoever, you got to beat everybody to get there anyway.
Sure.
Would you rather play Oklahoma than Clemson? Yes. But if you got to play Clemson 2 and 3, it is what it is.
Right.
It is what it is. So you got to, and it would have been a tougher game.
Right.
But they can't do anything about it, and it would have been a show of disrespect, perhaps. But if LSU would have remained at number 2.
Well, really, the college football playoff, the system that we have now, just get in the top 4. Because then 2 things. You got 2 games to win, and I use this when teaching kids baseball. All you can do is play the team on the other sideline. In baseball, the team in the other dugout. That's all you can do is play that team. Well, go do what you got to do. So, I think LSU would rather play Oklahoma than Clemson if you could have that pick.
Yes.
They didn't have that pick, but it came out that way. Hey, you go line up, and whoever's on the other sideline, that's who you're going to get after, and hopefully you walk off the field with a W.
Right, and the other part of that was obviously getting to Atlanta, playing in a stadium that you're familiar with. That again meant a lot to LSU as well.
Yeah, and once they won the SEC championship, we knew there were no more games outdoors.
Yes.
Because the weather can be an issue.
Sure.
Weather can be an issue for the type of offense LSU runs. Okay, just check the Saints offense when the weather's bad.
Right.
Okay. So, and don't think, with all due respect, a lot of the numbers the Saints pile up because it's indoors. All right. So, but LSU's in a good spot. I like the thing Steve Ensminger said at the end of the you saw that thing with all the quarterbacks that congratulated Burrow at the very end. He said, congratulations, but we still got some work to do.
Yep.
I believe this team knows they got work to do. They're not satisfied. And Ed Orgeron's going to make sure they know that, especially come kickoff time that Saturday in Atlanta.
A lot of accolades for this LSU team, individual accolades. Of course, Joe Burrow, Heisman, we'll get into that in just a moment. Heisman, Maxwell Award, Davey O'Brien, the Johnny Unitas, the Walter Camp Player of the Year, AP National Player of the Year, SEC Offensive Player of the Year, AP All-American First Team, set the SEC single-season passing touchdown record with 58, single-season passing record with 4,715 yards, 78% completion rate throughout the season. Ed Orgeron, the AP Coach of the Year, also the Home Depot Coach of the Year. Jamar Chase from Rummel High School right here in New Orleans, Chase Biletnikoff Award winner and AP All-American First Team, 73 catches, 1,498 yards, 18 touchdowns for Chase. Grant Delpit, Thorpe Award winner, AP All-American Second Team, 56 total tackles, 36 solo, 2 interceptions, 1 sack. Of course, we know he's been injured through most of the season. Derek Stingley, Jr., AP All-American First Team, only freshman on that team. And, of course, Joe Brady gets the Broyles Award for the top assistant in the nation. Wow.
And I'm going to tell you something, too, that people have talked about. I really think that Derek Stingley, after this year's over, there's going to be a campaign starting to get underway because he's going to be a Heisman candidate.
He'll be a two-way player next year, right?
He'll be a two-way player, and I always thought Tommy Casanova was the best athlete. I think Derek Stingley leaves LSU. He may make a case for being the best all-time. He made All-American as a freshman.
Yes.
He could be a 3-time All-American like Tommy Casanova. And he could be the best athlete to ever leave there. I mean, I'm just saying because Tommy Casanova did carry the ball, and he was great, but I'm saying it's a different era when Tommy played in the late 60s and 70s. Right. But Derek Stingley is that good, and I think that he will also get some consideration next year, and maybe as a junior, who knows, but he's off the charts. I mean, LSU is so blessed to have somebody like that, and he did much, much more than everybody thought.
Well, when they recruited Stingley, the word was that Coach O said, "Hey, your second year here, we'll look at putting you on offense." But right now, the wide receiver corps is pretty loaded.
Yes.
And he's not a tailback kind of guy. So, but why not put your best athlete on the football field?
Yes.
The idea is put the best 11 out there, give you a chance to move up and down the field, score points. So if you can have some packages in there, some personnel groupings where Stingley's on the field, I think that would be great. Again, you use the talent you have, and that's what this coaching staff. Ed Orgeron has become a great manager of the program. True. He is molded into that. He learned from the debacle at Ole Miss when he tried to do everything, and that has worked out. And all those awards, that shows the depth on this football team.
Yes.
I mean, they got talent. Again, they're not all household names, but they're all good. They all got a scholarship to go to LSU. That's the best team in America. Right. So I think if you look at that, and then it starts with Joe Burrow. I mean, lesson learned there. How you thank the people who helped you along the way. Right. He did that. I had tears in my eyes, just like most people did. I'm not afraid to say that. It was what sports. I mean, I've been involved with sports since I started playing t-ball when I was 5 years old. It's what sports is all about when you see something like that.
Yeah, I would agree. I also had tears in my eyes during that Heisman speech, one for the ages. Talk about that Heisman speech. Talk about, again, very deserving of the Heisman and very deserving of, again, how he really swept the award in terms of votes.
But he did it with such class. What he said and how he impacted the charities and stuff like that in Ohio.
Yes.
With the food and everything. But he's done everything with class. He's worked so hard. All his ships, everything has fallen in place this year. He's put a lot of work in. He's got so much bravado and moxie. He's carried his team. He's inspired the defense. He's going through his progressions. I mean, that has gotten the attention of the NFL scouts because he has gone through 3 or 4 or 5 different progressions and hit the receivers open and stuff. I'll credit the offensive line for giving him time. But he is tough. He'll stay in that pocket as long as he feels like he has to, knowing the walls are collapsing on him, and to get his receiver. And he's so smart and so tough, and he's got the mentality of a linebacker. He won't get out of bounds unless he has to. I think that the whole team has picked up on that. and has inspired, again, the defense as well, not only the offense, but defense. So he has a lot to do with the overall success. So that Heisman Award represents him and the entire team.
I tell you what impressed me as much as the speech. Cody Worsham, who works digital media
Yes.
for LSU, tweeted out, I think it was the next day or even Monday, that he was with Burrow when they were all getting dressed to head over to the facility for the award. He said, they knew he was going to win. He said, "Have you written your speech yet?" He said, "No, I'm going to wing it." Well, if that was winging it.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, that parallels into when you're a quarterback,
Yeah,
you got to wing
right.
it. Rene, you played football at a high level. It's all about adjustments and quick decisions, right? Well, if he could wing that speech,
Yeah.
which might be I feel sorry for whoever wins it next year because they're not topping that speech, okay? If he can wing it for that speech, I want him winging it for my football team when they say hut, hike.
Right. And when he ends it all, when he finishes that football career, if you
Hollywood,
can have
here
that
we
like
go.
that, Hollywood doing what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
No doubt. Guys, I do want to ask about the future of Steve Ensminger and Joe Brady. It looks as though Joe Brady's going to sign on with LSU long term. Obviously, there's going to be a bump in salary, probably a bump in terms of, again, what his title will be. He has been quick to be able to give Steve Ensminger a tremendous amount of credit for the offense, play calling, etc. How do you see these guys? Will they coexist in the booth together next year? Is Ensminger going to move to another position? What do you think happens, Rene?
I can see them staying in the same position they're in. That remains to be seen. But with Joe Brady, with his age, 30 years old, I really don't foresee him going beyond another year or two. I think a head coaching job will come along, maybe a highly paid offensive coordinator at an NFL team. I think if he can do this 1 year, he needs this 1 year. I think people are going to watch and see what happens next year and maybe a year after that.
Without Joe Burrow.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So we'll see, like, how creative can you guys get? And this worked between Steve Ensminger and Joe Brady this year. But let's go forward 1 year, maybe 2 years. So I think the future will tell, and no one knows what's going to happen. But unfortunately for LSU fans, they hoping Joe Brady will be there for a long, long time. I don't know unless something happens. I don't know Steve. I don't think Steve is ready to hang it up. I think Steve would like to stay there another 3 or 4 years, I would think. But it'll all fall out. But again, Joe Brady, he's done a lot to get LSU going, and everything again fell in place. I think it had a lot to do with Burrow getting the Heisman Trophy, but I think 2 years most.
Right.
Max.
I think you have to give Steve Ensminger a tremendous amount of credit here for he put the team first, which is what all athletes and people involved should do. He put the team first. He knew this would help the football team, and he embraced it with open arms, okay? Because let's back it up. When Steve Ensminger was a quarterback at LSU, he rotated with David Woodley.
Yes.
The team was first. I don't know if he was Woodley quarterbacked in the Super Bowl, actually. Steve, cup of coffee with the Philadelphia Eagles, that was it. But he was back then, and he was a wild and crazy guy in college. I don't mind saying it because everybody knows it. But he knew it was the best for the football team for him and Woodley to rotate. So it doesn't surprise me that, because he has a love and a passion for LSU, even though he's coached in 8 or 9 other places in the Southeast, from Texas to Auburn and a bunch of places in between, Texas A&M. So, and Steve's that kind of guy. He's just about as laid back. He'd rather put a dip in his mouth than talk to a radio guy or come on this TV show. But he's a hard worker. He loves LSU. He puts the team first in his role. I don't think you change anything with what you accomplished right now. But like Rene said, sooner or later Joe Brady's going to move on, be it the NFL, be it a head coaching job in college. But that's part of it. And it's a good problem to have when you have coaches who are being wanted by other people.
Yes,
that's a reflection of a solid program, top to bottom. But don't walk softly on how much credit Ensminger should get for the role he has played with this offense.
I would agree. Anything you want to add on that?
No, he could have said it better. And I think Steve Ensminger really has been quiet because he don't do a lot of interviews and stuff like that. But LSU knows what he can do, and his players. Right. Joe Burrow and all know how much.
And I think it starts at the top, guys. You talk about being selfless, right? And you think about Ed Orgeron, and you mentioned again failing at Ole Miss. Really could have been up and should have maybe gotten the USC job. Obviously, it wasn't that. Again, whether they didn't understand the way he spoke or whatever it was. Okay, again, that's LSU's gain. But coming to here and of course getting the job, which a lot of people, myself, believe that was a long shot at best. Okay, everybody knows I was for Jimbo Fisher. A lot of people wanted Tom Herman. He gets the job. Going out there, understanding that I got to do it different this time around. Being the CEO. And, you hear it all the time. I talk about it on this show, I talk about it on the radio show. we talk more about the assistants sometimes than we talk about him. Talk about Joe Brady. You talk about Dave Aranda. You rarely talk about Ed Ogeron, but Ogeron doesn't let it bother him. He just keeps moving forward. And look right now at, again, the record since he's taken over this program.
One thing about the Herman and Fisher thing, okay? They combined this year to win 14 games.
Right.
Ed Ogeron's won 13 and beat each of them.
Yes. It's the truth.
Exactly right. And I remember
It's easy to say it years later.
Absolutely.
Hindsight's 2020. We know that.
both these guys are more highly regarded.
No doubt. But
way ahead.
Ogeron seems to be the perfect fit.
And I remember doing a couple of national shows when Ed Ogeron got the job, and I said at the time, Ed Ogeron could be very much like a Dabo Swinney. No one really wanted Dabo in that Clemson job.
I remember you saying that on my show.
No one wanted him that Clemson. He didn't fit the suit.
Right.
And he didn't speak the language and everything. But boy, I tell you what, the players played for him. And I said, we don't know, but Ed Ogeron could be another Dabo Swinney.
What I said the day they hired him was I thought he deserved a chance. And then I said, if he doesn't succeed, it won't be because he didn't bust his tail 24/7. With his passion for the state of Louisiana and for LSU, even though he was only on the team for about 2 weeks in that when he signed, and he was in Richard's signing class actually. Richard didn't even remember him being out there, and then he ended up at Northwestern State.
Right.
But I said, if he ultimately does not succeed, this is when they first hired, it won't be because he didn't give it 100% every minute of the day.
Yep. Guys, final question for LSU before we take a break. Then we're going to come back and talk about the signing period, what's happened with Tulane, LSU, and some of the other schools. Dave Aranda flirted with UNLV. Talk about Colorado State. Looks like he's staying. What do you anticipate happening there?
There'll be more to come. There'll be more to come. I mean, maybe it's over for right now, or maybe it's not. But there'll be more. The more success he continues to have, they're going to come after him. And again, it's a credit to the program. Said it was wrong, but I don't think they ever had really high hopes of keeping him very long. You pay him a lot of money, but he's going to get a lot of attention.
Right.
And if he does leave, you wouldn't think there'd be any problem replacing him with the money they can pay.
Right.
Yes.
And right now, what kid doesn't want to sign with LSU? What coach wouldn't want to come coach at LSU right now? I don't know if they're the king of the hill right now, but they've climbed that mountain. We'll see how long they stay up there.
And I tell you what, who's going to get mentioned, and he's not high profile.
Right.
Bill Bush will get a look-see.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Bill Bush will get a look-see at defensive coordinator.
And of course, everybody knows the story now. Really responsible for Joe Burrow being at LSU.
Yep.
About 99% responsible.
Yep, no doubt about it. Guys, quickly before we go, one word answer, yes or no. LSU best team in the nation?
Yes.
Yes.
I would agree with that as well. Hopefully, they'll be able to prove that on the field in Atlanta
The only team that
and
can
then
beat
back in New
LSU is
Orleans.
LSU.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna file that one away for sure. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll hear from our fantastic underwriters. When we get back, we'll talk about National Signing Day. Rene Nadeau will go through the signings for LSU, Tulane, some of the other state schools. Then we'll get into the Saints coming off Breeze's historic, record-breaking night against the Indianapolis Colts. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. Our guest tonight, Tommy Krysan of Talking with TK podcast. Rene Nadeau of CrescentCitySports.com. I'm your host, Eric Asher.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Tonight, Rene Nadeau of CrescentCitySports.com, Tommy Krysan of Talking Sports with TK podcast. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about National Signing Day. We turn it over to the expert, Rene Nadeau, who, again, not only is involved and sees these guys, in terms of keeping up with them. He's out. He covers high school sports like nobody else. CrescentCitySports.com, one of the best that we have out there covering high school sports. Why don't we take LSU first, talk about this class as of right now. And we're taping on a Wednesday. Obviously, you'll see this on a Thursday or a Friday, so some things may change between now and then. But most of the signees are in at this point.
You guys have been following LSU for a long time. Do you remember just a year or so ago, Foster Morrow just had a few catches and stuff, and hardly ever went to the tight end. If I told you that LSU signed a guy today who could be a John Mackey Award winner, you'd think, Eric Gilbert is a 6'5", 253-pound guy. He's a 5-star guy, the best tight end, the highest-ranked tight end in the country ever.
Amazing.
And he signed with LSU. I mean, so that's what this offense has done. Elias Ricks is a cornerback that's going to join, Stingley next year, and he could have the same kind of impact that Stingley did this year. Elias Ricks, he's a 5-star cornerback, top cornerback in the country. So those two guys certainly had the class. Max Johnson is Mark Rick's nephew. He's coming aboard.
Brad Johnson's son, the former Buccaneer.
Brad Johnson with the Vikings. T.J. Finley out of Ponchatoula. They got Dumerville, the tackle, Marcus Dumerville, who really it's him and Marlon Martinez are both teammates in Florida, and they both come into to LSU. Keyshawn Butte is a wide receiver. They lost a couple of guys. Jarrett defected. He went to Maryland. Burton went to Georgia. But they still have 5 or 6 spots available right now. And I still contend I wouldn't be surprised if LSU did add a grad transfer as a quarterback, as an offensive lineman, as a linebacker. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if a grad transfer comes aboard, and I think they know that they're going to keep a scholarship, at least one scholarship available to kind of fill that need. But LSU, I mean, they attracted so much attention to turn away 4-star guys.
Yes.
I mean, really, some schools are dying for 3 or 4, and they turning 4-star guys away. And Louisiana this year, LSU signed 5 out of the top 20 in Louisiana this year. The big kind of competitor this year was Georgia. Georgia signed 2 of the top 20 and could sign 3 of the top 20 in Louisiana this year. So Alabama only signed 1. Kyle Edwards out of Destrehan was a top 20 guy. But Georgia was the guy who came in and stole a couple of players away. Major Burns, who was a commitment to LSU. But overall, they got Georgia got 3 guys from Georgia. LSU got 3 guys from Georgia.
Yes.
So
turnabout's fair play.
Yeah, Gilbert the tight end and Max Johnson was 2 of the guys. So they turned around and stole some guys from Georgia. So it was a good trade.
Tommy, it shouldn't be really surprising, right, with Ed Ogeron, the recruiter that he is, and the recruiters that he has on this staff as well, right?
Yeah, well, and you're selling a hot ticket right now, and they fixed up this locker room, which is very 18 to 22-year-old friendly, if for lack of a better word. But no, it's right now they're in a great spot to build. Like Ed Ogeron told a private group a couple of weeks back, like when you go fishing and you're getting near your limit and you catch a big one, so you throw a little one back so you can keep the big one.
Yes.
That's what they were doing with recruiting.
Okay.
They pulled offers on a lot of kids. I mean, that's no secret, because they got someone else to say, and then they start playing that game. Well, if you do commit, we'll take it away from him, but don't make us do that. It becomes it's a vicious game, that recruiting thing. But it's always has been, always will be about recruiting and the players on the field. Ed Ogeron, the day he got hired at LSU, he said one thing he learned in all of his experiences was that great players made great coaches. His intent was to go get great players so they could make great coaches out of he and his staff. To date, they've done a pretty bang-up job about that.
A lot of the services have listed LSU maybe a top 3. What do you think is going to happen by the end of the signing period?
Well,
they have had some defections.
Yeah, and they're going to sign in another couple of days. They may sign one more, but I think they're going to wait until February signing period and sign the rest, and that's when they're going to pick up. They got McKinley Jackson perhaps. They running back. They got to add a running back for sure. So they got an idea who they're going to get. And I think by the time the February signing date is concluded, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see LSU number 1.
Right. In Uptown New Orleans today, they are touting this as maybe the best class in the Willie Fritz era, one of the best classes that Tulane has had. Do you concur?
I do, and before we go to that, I want to say this.
Sure.
Nichols has had a great year.
Go ahead.
They got four transfers. Tevin Bush from West Virginia, Lindsey Scott from Missouri, Giovanni LaFrance, St. R kid from Arkansas, and Ronnie Jackson from Carr from UTSA. Yes, Willie Fritz did a great job, and he's getting a local talent. I mean, he's got Noah Taliancic, the defensive end from Destrehan, Angelo Anderson from John Curtis. He got Justin Ibieta. Cornelius Dyson is a athlete from Kentwood, 6'2", 185-pound guy, be a great cornerback, great athlete. They also got a pro-style quarterback, Michael Pratt out of Texas. Rashad Green out of University High in Baton Rouge, a big guard. But Willie Fritz has also shown that he's going to win, and he's getting him in a second bowl game in 2 years. And I think the players know that, and the recruits, when he knocks on the door, he's received very, very well. And they're going to fill a lot of spots. Justin McMillan leaves. Who's going to be the quarterback next year? Will it be a grad transfer coming in again, or will Ibieta, one of those guys?
Or Keon Howard.
Yeah, or whatever, or Howard, Keon Howard. But I think he's stocking a case pretty well, and I think he's continued to recruit well and be well received, and again he's not only recruiting locally, he's getting kids from Texas and the areas he's familiar with.
Yeah.
Well, he's definitely improved the program. It's in better shape than when he got it, which is a good measuring stick for a coach when they come in. And I think if he can continue, they started off with a big bang this year. They're really looking great 6-7 weeks in. Then they had some stumbles. But I think he knows, you got to defer to him and know that he knows what do they have to do to, not have stumbles down the stretch on the schedule next year. And, go to another bowl game, maybe a bigger bowl, and then, sooner or later start competing for the conference title. Right.
Well, a flirtation with Arkansas and Missouri ultimately is coming back to Tulane. Going to get an extension, going to get a little bit of a raise here as well, which again is always good for the coach. Also going to the Armed Forces Bowl on January the 4th. They'll be taking on their rival, USM, which is a really good game for recruiting and a really good game, honestly, for Tulane as well. And they're again showcased on that January 4th Bowl, where again not a lot of other things going on. So again, they'll be the kind of the bowl that people will be looking at. So things are really looking up for Tulane.
They'll be the feature game.
Yes.
On that date. And the thing is that he's also attracting players. You can't recruit against teams that are maybe below where you are. And he's beaten some SEC teams for talent. He's brought in some guys in here. They had offers from Mississippi State and Tennessee and Vanderbilt. So he's done it the right way. But he's got some great players. He's got a system that works. And he's still got some. He's going to lose a couple of running backs, but he's got a stable of running backs coming back. His offensive line returns intact except for the center. So he's got a good foundation to start 2020.
Beautiful. Before we move to the Saints, some other highlights from other state schools that you want to throw out there about National Signing Day.
ULL did a pretty good job. Kyron Lacey, big kid out of Thibodeau, 6'3", 200-pound wide receiver. Trey Amos out of Catholic New Iberia. Tyree Skipper out of Sophie B. Wright is a wide receiver that I think is going to help the ULL program a lot. And Sonny Hazard, John Hazard's son from LSU, is out of Jesuit, is a defensive tackle that I think is a great fit. About 6'1", 295, 300 pounds. Plays a lot like his dad and his Uncle Nicky, and I think he's going to be a great add for ULL program. And Billy Napier is doing a really good job with the Cajuns.
Sticking around?
Yeah, yes he is. And he's every year,
right,
there's going to be a knock on the door, and Billy Napier, so the Cajun fans have to get used to it. But when you have success, get used to people coming after your coach.
Right. Well, I mean, look, we've been really blessed. I mean, your alma mater, Southeastern, great year there. Nichols had a great year. You talk about Louisiana Tech. So, I mean, you go right down the line, ULL. It's really been really great football here in Louisiana. And based on what we've seen out of signing day today, the early signing period, that will continue.
Oh, yeah. And we talked about Nichols, Southeastern. McNeese has done a great job. Louisiana Tech has a really good job, and they got the program in the right direction.
The Bayou Classic was a big success. Southern gets the win there. Dawson Odoms doesn't get enough credit for being as good a coach he is with that Jaguar program. I know Dawson personally, and he's a funny guy, but he's a darn good football coach.
Beautiful. And yeah, things are always looking up when it comes to college, at least in the recent past here in Louisiana. Guys, we're going to go to the Saints now. I want to talk quick. We know the Pro Bowl is a popularity contest, but again, this year, Cam Jordan starting at the defensive end position, Michael Thomas starting at the wide receiver position, also Marshawn Lattimore starting at cornerback. Will Lutz is the kicker for the NFC. Deontay Harris is the kick returner for the NFC. Drew Brees is the backup quarterback. Teron Armstead, the backup left tackle. First of all, nobody wants to see these guys in the Pro Bowl.
Right.
Okay, that's number one. But I don't want to talk about the guys that made it. I want to talk about the snubs. Okay, because Ryan Ramczyk to me is more deserving than Teron Armstead, based on Armstead not being healthy and what Ramczyk has done as a tackle in the NFL. Look, it's no longer the NFL where you have one pass rusher. Every team has two pass rushers now. Your right tackle has to be as good as your left tackle. The other one is Demario Davis, who again I said earlier today, and I said this a few weeks ago on the radio show. If he was back with the New York Jets and doing the things he's doing in New Orleans now, everybody would know who Demario Davis is. The fact that he's in New Orleans, even though the Saints are playing very well, one of the top teams in the NFL, he just doesn't get his due. And then when are they going to recognize Thomas Morstead as the best punter in the NFL? Those to me were the three worst snubs of all. I'd like to get your take on those snubs, and if you have any other players you thought that were snubbed in the voting.
Well, Thomas Morstead's been there before, and I totally agree with you on all three of those. That I don't think anybody is in the same class as Thomas Morstead as a punter. What he does. Demario Davis, what a knockout year he had. He hit one out of the park, and there's absolutely no reason why he shouldn't have been a starter in the Pro Bowl. And Ryan Ramczyk, among tackles, he had throughout the entire season, he was most high rated tackle.
Yes.
Left or right tackle.
Right.
And for him to get snubbed, it's just, I'm floored. I cannot believe. And I tell you who I think down the road is going to get recognition, because I see where he's headed. Eric McCoy in the next year or two is going to make some Pro Bowls. He's that good.
Well, as well as I, knowing the lines like you do, how difficult a transition it is.
Wow.
From I don't care if you're at Texas A&M in the SEC or not, to transition to be a starting center in the NFL. That is a tough place. Even if you got a guy like Breeze who can help you with the line calls, that is tough. And he has held his own against some of the NFL best.
I didn't think he'd be this good. He proved me wrong. I didn't think he'd be this good. He had a lot of little things he had to work on, steps and things and hand placement and all that. But he did all of that. And he is justified to pick that the Saints made on him, and he's going to be here for a long, long time, and he's going to be really, really good. I can see him in a Pro Bowl at least next year, if not the year after.
Yeah. Your thoughts?
Drew Brees can't go 29 for 30 if he doesn't have guys up there blocking.
There's no doubt.
And that's including Ramczyk, who by all accounts is he's a Pro Bowler, even though he's not on that list, and hopefully that'll come for him in the future. But that's just one of them things that happens. That Pro Bowl thing is not what it used to be.
No, it's not.
Okay, and it's a joke of a game.
The game's not
they
even
need to eliminate
right.
the game. Okay,
Right.
Let it become a video game or something. But no, so it's not. It doesn't mean what it used to be. I think Ramczyk will be just fine if the rest of those guys on that list aren't in the Pro Bowl, because that'll mean they're in the Super Bowl, and we'll go from there.
I'm more interested in looking at the all-pro teams that'll be coming out.
Yeah.
Okay, those are the ones that really tell you a lot about what's on. This is more of a popularity contest. From the fans to the players, again, the coaches that are involved in it. I want to see what the all-pro teams look like.
And the other thing about the Pro Bowl, if we can go back decades here, and the same thing with Major League Baseball All-Star Game. It used to be fans didn't know a whole lot about players on other teams. You wanted to see that guy you heard about, or that guy that had these stats and those stats. Now, we all got it on our, there's nothing we don't know about any of the 32
NFL
NFL
Sunday
teams.
tickets, you can watch every game.
Yeah, and if you want to know something about the Miami Dolphins, you can go find out all you want in 15 minutes on the computer. So some of the glitter is off of the Pro Bowl, that used to be. The internet has changed the world in so many ways every day, every second. And but it's a popularity contest. It's kind of like the college football playoff rankings.
Yes.
To me, it's just a marketing tool, something else to talk about. Yes, we're talking about it.
Yep.
So I guess it's working.
Let's talk a little bit about Drew Brees and what he did the other night. First of all, again, surpasses Manning's all-time touchdown record, 541 to Manning's 539. Brady right behind them, 538. That'll be fluid until both those guys retire. But 29 for 30, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had 22 straight completions. That's a personal record. 96.7 completion percentage record for the NFL. How he did it, and this is one of the things that really, when I saw those next-gen stats, it really struck me. 7 for 7 in tight windows, 10 for 11 in 10 yards or more. Both are next-gen stat records. A lot of people, myself included, maybe question if he had the long ball. Again, I don't know what it was about that night, but he seemed like the Breeze of 10 years ago. Mobile, running away from pressure, not that there was a lot, but was. The ability, obviously, we know he has a great arm in terms of accuracy, velocity. He had a bruise on his elbow, didn't slow him down at all. It was as many great performances we've seen out of Drew Brees in that building on the road. This one was one for the ages.
And, for him, touchdowns are an extremely important stat. I mean, that's scoring touchdowns. And to surpass, to be above the Peyton Mannings and the Joe Montanas and the Bart Starrs and Johnny Unitas's and all the great quarterbacks all time. I mean, this guy sits atop that, and he's ahead of Tom Brady right now. But the thing is that seeing that performance the other night told me he's not going anywhere.
No, he's not.
He's not going anywhere. He's going to be here for another 2 years. He is so competitive, and he just couldn't, as hard as he works and as well prepared as he is, he couldn't do anything as close to this. So he is so driven. I can see him here for at least 2 more years. Whether they win the Super Bowl or not, that's going to have no bearing at all.
He's going to play until they quit giving him a jersey.
Yeah.
Okay. He's going to want to run out there. When they don't give him a jersey and a helmet, he can't run out there. A remarkable night, and when you throw in all the other things, they're playing the Colts, who they beat in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
They're honoring the Super Bowl champions,
2009.
Super Bowl 44 team. Monday Night Football when there's no other NFL game. That still carries a little weight in that league. Monday Night Football.
Absolutely.
It's a big thing, even though there's Thursday and Sunday night and all that. Now it goes back to our childhood with Monday Night Football. People playing their entire week around that. And I can remember being a little kid hoping the Saints made the halftime highlights with Howard Cosell. And then one time when they did, you were all happy.
Yes.
That's how far back I go. But for Brees to do that on that stage at home, it was just remarkable. I mean, I was loving every minute of it. It was a good time to be number 9 this weekend, right?
Oh yeah, not bad. That's going to be a number that's not going to be utilized by any more quarterbacks.
But all Little League kids are going to wear number 9
that's
now.
about it.
They're all going to want number 9.
Not going to have it at LSU anymore, and you're not going to have it at the Saints when both those guys walk away. One more stat before we move on. Never before has a quarterback thrown 96%, 4 touchdowns, and 300-plus yards in a game. It's the first time ever in the NFL, and that's amazing as well when you talk about what Drew Brees has done. I want to talk about the injuries, though. Rankins is out on injured reserve with an ankle. The Liz Frank injury for Davenport. Wolford goes out with what looks like a knee injury. We don't know the severity of that. CJ concussion. Maybe he's back, maybe he's not. But again, we know that Rankins and Davenport will not be back. Only had 1 sack on against the Indianapolis Colts on Monday night. Of course, Brissett was on his horse. He was running
Brissett
a lot.
can move pretty good.
Okay, he does. But what are your thoughts on the loss of Rankins and Davenport going forward?
This game, this weekend, Tennessee is going to be no cakewalk.
Yes.
It's going to be a lot tougher than people think. And, this time of the season, no team is 100% injury-free. I mean, it's how you've prepared to get here, how you've check your roster, who's a phone call away to come fill a spot. So Sean Payton and the staff has done a great job. And they are maybe a little more prepared than most NFL, if not all NFL teams, to come up with a secondary plan to fill the roles of injury players and stuff. And they've also got guys stocked that can step up when a Rankins goes down or a Davenport goes down. I tell you,
You feel comfortable with the rotational depth, even with those guys out?
Yeah, and Hendrickson has done a good job coming in at defensive end. He's had a pretty good year. So I think Malcolm Brown has done well. They're going to be okay. When you lose a starter and a guy like Rankins and Davenport, you certainly take a step
those are
back.
2 starters. You literally have lost 2 starters.
Really good players.
Right.
But it's how you rebound.
Right. Will Clapp came in and played well.
Clapp.
Really played really well, considering he had been on the left side most of the time. Now you switch it to the right. From playing on the line, that is tough.
Yeah,
I mean that's again, that is a tough deal moving from one side to the other. He was flawless. Whether he can do that on an ongoing basis, Wolford has been a really good guard for this team coming over from Detroit.
I watched both those guards, Pete and Will Clapp. And they were both in the game at the same time, obviously. And I tell you, they did a very, very good job. I don't know, I couldn't give a grade, not being an offensive line coach, but Pete and Clapp did a really good job. And with McCoy in there as a rookie, they did a great job and kept Drew Brees.
And you meant Easton, right?
Yeah, Nick Easton.
Yeah, because hopefully Pete will be back by the playoffs.
I said Pete, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Sorry, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. Your thoughts?
Well, NFL is an offensive game. So if you get a couple of injuries on the defensive side, but you can still score points, they didn't outscore the 49ers that day, but, if you can still score some points, you got a shot to win. Bottom line is winning. It's very difficult to win an NFL football game. Anybody who's ever played in the league will tell you that. It is I don't care if you're playing the worst team in the league. It's hard to go beat them in 60 minutes on a Sunday afternoon. So, you got to overcome that. Injuries are part of the game. Rene made the point. All 32 teams have got an injury report right now. Saints have to just next man up. It sounds like a cliche, but it's true. That's what you got to do.
We've seen this is the deepest team in Saints history, I would think. When you start looking at every position group down the line, it has been tested throughout the season. They passed that test almost every single time. It'd be interesting to see again on how they'll do with losing 2 starters on the defensive line. Hopefully not losing a starting guard as well. Guys, got about 3 minutes left. I got to bring this up. Vaughn Johnson, member of the Dome Patrol, passed last week with a kidney and lung ailment. All 3 of us watched this guy play with the Dome Patrol with Pat Swilling, Ricky Jackson, the late Sam Mills. I've said before over and over again, there needs to be a banner in the Dome honoring those guys. There needs to be a statue out in front of the Superdome or in Champion Square honoring those guys. This is long overdue by the Saints organization to do that. It's a shame that it wasn't done before Vaughn Johnson passed. But your memories of Vaughn Johnson, your thoughts of him as a linebacker, because he was tremendous.
As tough and physical as he was, he always met you with a smile. And I saw him at a game just about a year or so ago, and I was running the press box up for something, passed by him and didn't see him, and he gave me a "Hey, you," and I turned and looked at him. He had that big grin. He always met you with a smile, and I tell you what, they used to tell me too, sometimes when he flattened a runner, he'd smile down at him, But Vaughn was one of a kind and a great, great linebacker that maybe didn't get credit because who he played
Underrated,
with.
right?
Very much because who he played with.
Right, underrated.
But he's a guy who was not selfish. He was playing with 3 very good linebackers. He played his role. He put the team first. I've made reference to that a few times tonight. But he put the team first. And if he's on another team in the league, he could be a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro guy. But he's out there with Swilling and Mills and Jackson. And that defense kind of helped put the Saints on the map after so many years of frustration for the fans. Moore and Bobby Abad certainly played their role. And then, of course, that Dome Patrol. I mean, that was a big thing back when defense mattered a little bit more in the NFL. They had 4 of the best, and Vaughn Johnson was one of them 4. And I'm like you. I wish there could have been some recognition. He could have seen Sam Mills left us a few years ago. But I think everybody who played with Vaughn knows what a great player he was.
I'm hoping Gail Benson and Dennis Lauscha and the hierarchy at the Saints will now recognize this and understand we need to do something special for that linebacking core. Because, again, that's one – look, there's been a lot of the greatest of with this franchise, especially before the Peyton era. That was the greatest of.
Yes, that was the greatest linebacking core
of all time. All time, no doubt about it.
Especially with 4 line, yeah. In
with
the 3-4 defense.
No doubt about it. Guys, final question. Saints taking on Tennessee, finishing up with Carolina. Do they get the first round bye, first or second seed?
I think they will. Yeah, I think they will because I think Green Bay is going to stumble. I think they will. So
Minnesota this weekend. Seattle plays San Francisco the following weekend.
They got a great shot. Got to take care of business. Rene made the point. It's not going to be a walk in the park on the road against Tennessee.
Right.
So if they can go ahead and take care of business and then just play whoever's on the other sideline.
The break would go a long way in helping this team to get that first round bye to rest up, get some guys back from injury, no doubt about it. Tommy Krysan, Talking with TK podcast. Rene, Nadeau, CrestCitySports.com. Thanks for being with us. Tommy, where can folks catch the podcast?
All the major platforms, Apple, Anchor, Spotify, TuneIn, and many more. Or connect with me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tommy Krysan.
Thanks so much for being with us tonight, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, there's a rebroadcast of this program every Friday night right here on WLAE at 10 p.m. You can also catch us, Pelican Sports Television. That's 9 o'clock every Friday night. Catch me on the radio, Sports 1280, 101.1 FM HD2 and the iHeartRadio app. You can listen live, download the podcast at ericasher.com. All the previous episodes of this show are available at Inside New Orleans Sports on our website. Also, you can check out us on the YouTube page of WLAE-TV and at ericasher.com. Also want to thank our friends here, Rene Nadeau, and also Tommy Krysan, also the WLAE production staff, Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, Naila Jones, my director, William Hill. I'm Eric Asher. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you right back here next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports, the Christmas edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. Thanks for watching.